Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Fuel Throttle podcast. My name is Whitney, and I work here at Fuel Moto. If you caught our first episode, you already know that this show is all about cutting through the noise and getting straight into the heart of motorcycle performance. The why, the how, and the people behind it all. Today, we're doing something a little different. We're pulling back the curtain on how Fuel Moto actually came to be, where it started, how it evolved, and the crazy road that led to where it is today. And who better to walk us through it than the man himself, Jamie Long, here, the founder at Fuel Moto. So let's start from the top, Jamie. Before Fuel Moto was even a thing, your background was in racing, right?
Yeah, that's really where it all started. I was road racing through the 90s, and tuning was just a natural part of that lifestyle. And at the racetrack, living in and out of motorhomes and traveling, and you're always trying to squeeze that last bit of performance out of the bike. And after I got out of college, when I was doing there, I worked a few dealerships and eventually became a manager at a small Honda dealership. And that's really where things started to click.
What kind of dealership are we talking?
I worked at a few different shops. The first, while I was in college, was a motorcycle, just a service center, salvage and parts place. Then I moved on to a Kawasaki Yamaha Polaris dealership, a very large dealership. That was there a short time. Then I went to a small Honda mom and pop shop. And this was in the early 2000s. And back then it was kind of, dial-up internet and not a lot of technology there. So,
Sure.
My first job was to update and upgrade the facility with modern at the time services and computers. And I learned a lot about servers and actually built my first website while I was there. And the bigger thing is I was still doing tuning and such. I was running the service department, so I put in a dyno. So that was a big part of that. In kind of overseeing everything, we took the parts department with e-commerce from like $5,000 to $50,000 a month, like overnight, and it was pretty crazy.
So I'm guessing that kind of growth came with some growing pains then.
Yeah, the shop wasn't really set up to scale like that. Technology was well outpacing the business and the faculty that was there. And I was also at the same time getting really deep into tuning dyno work. And this was kind of like the infancy of e-commerce especially for motorcycle parts in our industry. There wasn't a lot of people doing it that. So
Sure.
I could see something forming and something was happening. And there was like an intersection between online parts sales, performance tuning, and support, which really wasn't happening at all back then.
So you're sitting there juggling racing, dealing with management and new tech. What made you finally take the leap into creating Fuel Moto?
Honestly, it was a family. I had a wife, 2 kids, and one on the way. Katie was just going to be born, and a little later that season, after she was born, we took a vacation. I kind of cleared my head out, and in between traveling across the country and work stressing and what I had going on there, I just decided it's time to put in my notice and do my own thing. So that's kind of where Fuel Moto started.
How did they take that?
Well, the family took it really great because
Good.
they were like, let's go, and the shop I was working at, they're fully expecting it, ready for it, and they were happy for me. And my last day, I bought pizza, and we had a party and everything there. It was pretty cool.
They knew it was happening. So 2004 rolls around, you're out on your own. What did the early days of Fuel Moto look like for you?
They were awesome. So our first shop was really cool, and I probably should share some pictures one day on social media, but our first building, we actually rented it. It was a Pizza Hut Express.
Nice.
It was like 1,500 square feet and it actually was set up really good though. It had a parts counter in the front, and the back was set up like a little shop with all our stuff there.
Sure.
And that was really neat. Then we moved from there to a little bigger facility one more time. We actually bought the next building, and now we're here. So
Crazy. So it didn't stay small for long then?
no, it kind of evolved in leaps and bounds, and that's kind of what really happened. Once we really got rolling, and we'd come across something else. Well, now we're going to do this, and now we're going to that. It like moved in exactly like leaps and bounds, and we found out really early that we wanted to stock what we sold.
Sure.
So it wasn't just drop shipping. We went from 2,500 square feet to 5,000, then 7,500. Then in 2019, we built this 20,000 square foot place. And nice thing when we built the new building, it was great because we had the entirety of everything we do under one roof. We had warehousing, we have tech support, we have offices, we have shipping and receiving, we have a full service department, and of course, we got the dynos. So that was a big part, but always has been the fact that we want to stock what we sell. So it's always been a really, especially in this day and age where nobody stocks what they sell. They go to a website, most of the time it's drop shipping, whatever. And we do a little bit of that too, but the great majority of the stuff we sell, we warehouse here. We actually have the parts on site, and do that. And that's been a really big part of our success over the years.
It's crazy growth. So you didn't always start with Harleys then, correct?
No, it was 100% metric early on. Japanese and European bikes, sport bikes, because of my racing background, that's kind of was the natural for us. And then in 2018, the recession hit. That market took a huge nosedive. And ironically, about a year later, we really started looking at Harley and thinking there was a lot of opportunities, a lot of openings for voids that we could fill that, especially in the tuning and support areas, that really, really worked out.
That's awesome. So most of your bikes that you work on now aren't even local to here in Appleton, Wisconsin, right?
Yeah, I would say probably 8 out of 10 bikes that we service, and that's everything from, say, a dyno tune to maintenance to full engine builds, which is what we really specialize in. 80% of that stuff for sure comes from hundreds of miles away.
Wow.
We had, we had bikes in this week from New Jersey, Kentucky, and also New York. So that's just in 1 week. So we see bikes from all over the place, and that's really what separates us is we have a full staff. So when you get your bike here, we don't have a lot of bikes on site. We're not going to have 30 bikes taken apart and parts coming from this place. When your bike's here, we got the full staff. We're ready and going on your machine. You have everybody's attention to that vehicle, and we have a couple of builds going every day, and then maybe something on standby. But it's different than having a bunch of bikes apart, people coming and going. And most people, it's a 1 or 2 day turnaround. So that doesn't matter if we're just doing a tune or if we're doing a full engine build from the bottom up. Sometimes, right even to the transmission, crankshaft, full engine. That's usually 2.5 days or so. So yeah, it's kind of a neat.
The full treatment. They're treated like families.
Right, exactly. And a lot of these guys are people that we've worked with for, over 15 years, bringing bikes back. We have people we did over a dozen bikes for. So really, it becomes part of our family, really.
Long-standing, for sure. And speaking of family, that's a huge part of the Fuel Moto story. Do you want to kind of elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, absolutely. This place is absolutely built on family and friends, and even the others that aren't family, they're tied in.
They're family.
So, right. Cindy was here from the beginning when Fuel Moto started in late summer, fall of 2004. Mm-hmm. She worked a few more months at her job at the school, and then we said, okay, that's enough. Took her on. She was like our first employee. And so she was here in the beginning. Lucas, we actually took him in. He was a toddler. He was 2. So we took him out of daycare, and I was taking work with me every day. So he's literally grew up in the business.
From
Michaela, she was already in grade school. So it worked really good because Katie was a newborn. Then after school, Cindy'd run him home. Michaela was a little time after that. She was old enough to watch the other 2. She was their caretaker until they a lot of times came back to work with us or whatever.
Sure.
We literally, when they brought them every day to work, all 3 of them were here all along. Every move, every shelf that got put together, they helped with all that. So a lot of kids were out running around on the weekends doing this, that, or the other. After school nights, kids were by us. 2 were all together working and doing that. So yeah, I guess you could say they grew up in the business and now they all work here in key roles. And it's really great.
They're a key part of that foundation. That's awesome.
Being around. And we've also had other members. Tony's my nephew. He's a little younger than me, and other cousins and people have worked here along the way. But most of our employees have been here a long time. It's a big part of it. And we all get together a few times a year outside of work. And I think with the exception of 1 or 2 people, the whole company, everybody rides. Yeah, it's really, really important.
Absolutely. So from a small town shop to the full-blown performance powerhouse that we have here at Fuel Moto now, what's the biggest lesson that you've learned along the way?
Basically to really evolve and adapt. But along with that, you got to have honesty and integrity. That's really, really been a huge part. You can't fake it. And you either know it or you don't. And you got to let the definitive information and data to lead the way. And that's something, like with the dynos and the graphs and the stuff we post and, all of our work that we put out day in, day out that for, 2 decades has really helped us stay, at the front of where we like to be.
Absolutely. Well said. Thanks, Jamie. Thank you for sharing your story and Behind the Dyno and giving us the inside look on how Fuel Moto became what it is today.
Yeah, thanks for everybody listening, following. I know a lot of you have been with us for a long time, and we really appreciate all that. And whether it's, Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, or even just phone calls and face-to-face, we've seen at shows over the years and that. It's really great to have everybody along for this. And, we really want to, keep everybody engaged in what's real in the industry, not some of the chatter and background noise we keep talking about on, we see in the internet and Facebook groups and that kind of stuff. It really helps. And I appreciate everybody following. If you want to go back and catch episode 1 for why the podcast exists, there's a little more to it there and sets the stage for what we're doing here. And next time I'm going to sit down with Lucas in our next episode, and we're going to dig into a few of the more common myths, what's true, what's hype, and what you really need to do to bolt your next combination together. So make sure you follow the Fuel Throttle podcast. Listen, and as always, we'll catch you next time.